Okay, guys, I don't normally do this kind of stuff, but I'm going to do it in this case because I want to bring light to a problem that I've heard about and just recently experienced. So, we have a healthcare problem here in Nova Scotia. I haven't had a family doctor for over 10 years. I'm on a list, but there's no choice other than to go to the emergency if anything happens. So, as an adult male, like most adult males do, I simply don't go to the doctors. If something's wrong, I don't go to the ER. If I'm feeling sick, I tough it out. If I got a chest pain, I stay at home. If I can't breathe, I don't go. That's just the way it is because I've learned that going to the ER just doesn't work. But recently, people have been dying in ER wards in Nova Scotia. And unfortunately, on Monday night, I had the awful experience of something happened. I don't know what. I just started getting ill at work. I projectile vomited all over the bathroom at work. My coworker sent me home because I'm not a sickly person. I'm not a crybaby. I'm just not that kind of a person. I'm a 48-year-old man. I mean, I consider myself to be fairly tough. I've never complained about illness in my life, all that good stuff. But anyway, so I projectile vomit all over the floor in the bathroom. I cleaned it up because it's not fair for my coworker to clean it up. I go outside, tell her I'm going to stay there, and she says, no, go home. So I'm all right. So I drive home. On the way home, I start getting severe stomach cramps, pains right in here, down the lower abdomen. I can't breathe very well, and I start to sweat horribly. So I get home, and my girlfriend and son and daughter are there. So they start to take care of me, and over the next 4 to 5 hours, I just continuously vomit over and over and over again, probably 40 to 50 times, to the point where I was dry heaving, and it started to get a little later at night, and we do have a 4-year-old, so my girlfriend said she's going to go lay down with our 4-year-old, and my 17-year-old son was in the bedroom next to the bathroom. So all I remember is him getting me up off the floor in the bathroom, and he said, are you okay? And I said, I think I'm all right. And he said, no, you're not okay. So I remember that, and then I went downstairs, and I sweated through 2 t-shirts. I was so hot, I just kept sweating and sweating. I was just drenched in sweat. It was pouring down my face, and I couldn't breathe. So I didn't know what to do. So I just kept throwing up downstairs, and eventually, my bucket was full, and I didn't want to puke in the sink. So I went back upstairs, and I threw up a few more times. And then the next thing I remember was Dax get me up off the floor again, and he said, you have to go to the hospital. And I said, no, I'm fine. But when I looked in the mirror, I was as red as a Coca-Cola can, and I was so sweaty. My shirt was completely sweat through. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't bend over. The only thing I could literally do was stand up with my hands above my head like this. So we hopped in the car to drive to the emergency, and Dax basically holds the wheel and helps me drive. He's only 17, and he doesn't drive really, so he was going to try to drive, but he couldn't. So I managed to drive there. It was only a 2-minute drive to the emergency ward, which is amazing. I'm lucky, right? So I get there, and I go in, and Dax literally carries me in. I don't remember much of this. I remember getting in the wheelchair at the main door, and the lady telling me that I didn't look good at all, so she immediately got me a wheelchair. To sanitize my hands, and then she immediately told Dax to take me right to the triage and not even grab a number. So we went right in the door, and the lady inside the door said, wow, you don't look very good at all. And I was like, okay, yeah, I don't feel good. And I kind of started to blank out at this time because I was convulsing because I was shaking so much. I'm going by what my son's told me because I don't remember a whole lot of this. I remember little bits and parts of it. So I'm convulsing, I'm covered in sweat, sweat's pouring out of me, and the young man in the emergency, and no fault to him because he's doing his job the best he can with the resources he has. So I'm not attacking the doctors of the hospital for this. He tries to take my blood pressure 3 or 4 times on this arm, and he tells me that I need to stop shaking. Well, while he's taking my blood pressure, I throw up all over the place. So then they go get me a bucket. Thanks a lot. They got me a bucket. So then he attempts to take blood pressure on my other arm, and he can't get that. So he just keeps trying over and over again. And I started to convulse and yell out that my stomach hurt and I need to lay down. All Doc's telling me this. So he says, is your blood pressure usually low or your heartbeat usually low? And I remember saying, I don't know, like maybe. He goes, well, I can't get a blood pressure on you. So he said, you're going to go in. So then I sat there for a few minutes, and then another lady come and got me, took me around in the back hallway. And they told me they're going to do blood work. So this time they've got me a wheelchair because I can't really stand up and I can't walk. And I've got such severe stomach and chest pains, which I still have a little bit of, and I'm covered in sweat. I sweat through my shirt. I'm screaming in agony that my stomach hurts and I need to lay down. So a lady comes to me and says, there's no beds, you can't lay down. So then the lady comes and she tries to do the EKG, or the thing where they stick all the stuff on you, right? Sticks them all on me, and I'm convulsing and shaking so much that she's getting angry that she can't get any readings. So you're shaking, convulsing, you're in pain, you're throwing up, you're sweating, you're in agony, and you can't breathe. You couldn't get your blood pressure taken because you couldn't sit still. We can't do the EKG because you're shaking too much and you're sweating too much and you're vomiting. Perfect, right? So she leaves frustrated that she can't get my EKG done, or whatever it's called, right? So now they haven't been able to do an EKG on me, or the blood pressure thing, right? And remember, I'm not a complainer. I don't go to the doctors. I consider myself to be a fairly tough guy, right? Whatever that means. So then I'm sitting there and they're like, okay, someone's going to come and do blood work. I'm like, great. So I sit there and I wait and I wait and I wait. And Dax is standing up. There's no place for him to sit down. About 20, 30 minutes goes by and I'm crying that my stomach is hurting. And I don't cry. And I'm literally crying like, help, my stomach hurts. I'm in so much pain. I'm in so much pain. And two ladies are sitting behind a little glass counter thing. And if you work at the Arms Hospital and you're back by the ambulatory area, you know where I was sitting. And they just keep looking at me. And I know it's not their job to take care of me. But the one lady says, are you okay? And I said, no, I'm not okay. I think I'm dying. And I literally said that. I can't breathe. I need to lay down. She said, you can't lay down. So then I got Dax to help me up. And we went into the main part. And I said to one of the nurses, I need to lay down. I can't sit up anymore. I'm dying. My stomach hurts so bad. She said, you cannot lay down. There are no beds. I said, there's a bed right there. Can I lay on it? She said, no. I don't know what that bed was for. Probably something not for laying on. But there's hundreds of beds in the hospital. It's empty. They could have got me a bed. I guess I could have called an ambulance and paid for it, and then I would have showed up with a bed, right? Oh, but there's no ambulances. That's another point. So anyways, about an hour's gone by, and I'm in agony, and I'm crying. And I'm like crying. I'm a 48-year-old man crying about how I can't breathe. My stomach hurts. I'm throwing up. I've thrown up about 40 times since I've gotten there. I'm dry heaving, and I don't know what to do. So I lay on the floor in the back part of emergency. A nurse comes over very angrily and says, you cannot lay on the floor. I told you can't lay on the floor. And I said, I can't sit up. Enough. I need to lay down. She said, fine. If you want to lay down, go around into the ambulatory area and you can lay on the floor there. So Dax got me up off the floor, put me in the wheelchair, and rolled me around there. The lady took us in there and she showed me two wider benches, maybe 2 butts wide. And she said, you can lay on that. I was like, I can't lay on that. So I tried to lay with my feet out like this and up on my wheelchair and laying on that bench, but it wasn't working. I just had cramps so bad and I couldn't breathe and I was just bawling my eyes out in the middle of a hospital. So what did I do? I laid on the floor. I laid face down on that floor for 4.5 hours with no blanket, no pillow. And one person came to check on me. The gentleman with only half an arm, I've been told that he is the ER supervisor or whatever. He came over, he shook me and asked me if I was all right. And I said, no, I'm not all right. And then Dax asked how much longer it was going to be, and he said he didn't know, and then he left. So I laid there for another 1.5 hours in agony, just pure agony. My hips are starting to hurt now. My face is flat down on the floor. Dax doesn't have a jacket with him because he rushed out the door. All I've got is a sweater, which I kept on because I was freezing. Dax went and asked for a pillow. They said, no, I couldn't have a pillow. So it gets to be about 6 o'clock in the morning. I've been there for about 7.5, 8 hours now, or whatever time I was there. I don't even know how long I was there. And my hips are so sore. And I said to Dax, can you please go one more time? And God bless him. He's only 17 years old, and he's never done this kind of stuff before. And I could tell he was terrified. So he goes and he asks, what's going on? He's still laying there and he needs help. Oh, it will be a while. We're waiting for blood results. Nothing ever came. No one ever came. It got to the point where I was so dehydrated, my face hurt, my hips hurt, I couldn't breathe. I made the decision to just get up and go home. I would rather die in my own bed at home comfortably with my family than to lie face down in the emergency ward of a hospital. It's ridiculous. Our healthcare system is broken. If a 48-year-old man comes in and you classed me a level 2, which I've later found out is the second highest level for emergency. I think, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. And then you just let me lay on the floor, face down, for 5 hours? And you won't even give me a pillow? I had stomach pains, stomach cramps. I couldn't breathe. I could have been having a heart attack, appendicitis, anything. No one ever felt my belly. Nobody ever did anything. That's my story. The healthcare system in Nova Scotia is broken. I made the choice to go home and die. I thought I was going to die. Luckily, I didn't die. But people have died recently. In this province, in Nova Scotia, people are dying in our emergency wards because whatever procedures, practices, or policies the people working there are following, they're so believing in it that they can't even go get a person a pillow from a hospital with hundreds of beds. If you can't help someone, at least comfort them. The healthcare system's broken and people are dying in our emergency wards. I don't have a family doctor to go see now. They took blood, that's great. Didn't get any results because I left. Nobody called me. I called back and asked to have my results. Said no because I left. I guess I just should have died then. It would have saved them a lot of problems. I don't know what to say, guys. There's nowhere to live here. If I get evicted or kicked out of this house, that's it. There's nowhere to live for any of us. You can't go to the doctor. There's no family doctors. And there's no sense going to the emergency ward. And God bless you if you need an ambulance, because sometimes there's only one ambulance in the whole entire province working. So I don't know what the solution to the problem is. And no blame to the workers at the hospital because they're just doing what they have to do and what they're told to do. But guys, compassion, a little bit of compassion to the sick people. You may become a little bit blunt to it and stuff from seeing it all the time. But shame on you for letting me lay on the floor for 4 to 5 hours with no pillow, face down. Why would a man like me lay on the floor face down unless something's wrong with me? And it turned out I'm all right. I think I had severe food poisoning maybe. Maybe I'm not all right. I don't know. I still haven't got any answers. This is day 4. I'm still sick. I feel a little better and I got to eat today. Anyways, guys, that's my story. Shame on the Nova Scotia medical system, the housing system, everything. It's just broken. It's a broken province, guys. Thanks for watching. It wasn't meant to be a rant. It's just meant to be my story about how I chose to go home and die at home rather than die on the floor with no dignity in a Nova Scotia emergency ward. Thanks.